It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Guilford Women's basketball head coach along with assistant athletic director, Stephanie Flamini. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you got started with your coaching?
Sure. Back in 1995, actually, at Immaculata, at the time it was college, Immaculata College. I coached with Mary Scharf, who played for Kathy Rush back in the 70s and was an All-American. And I spent a year there with her. I think I only made like $500 or $1,000, but I treated that job like I was making $100,000. It was a great honor to be there, and I learned a lot, and that's how it all started.
Can you talk about how you got started coaching at Guilford?
Sure. Well, I had made my rounds. I was an assistant, I went from Immaculata to Westchester, got my master's, and worked for Deirdre Kane, who again is very well-known and successful coach, mentored me in many ways other than just basketball, and probably had the single most influence in my life when it comes to basketball and just helping me in general. So I went from there, and I went to be a head coach in Farmington, Maine, and an administrator. So once I only stayed there a year because I wasn't really happy about the weather and didn't really like the area. Wasn't for me at that time, but it was a great place and a great opportunity. And then went down to Chowan University and then came here to Guilford. So this opened up after 3 years of being at Chowan, where we had 3 really successful seasons, and I got the privilege to take over this program.
Can you talk about what you've achieved in the last 16 seasons at Guilford?
Well, I mean, I think the things that I'm most proud of are our student athletes and their success in the classroom. That's the first thing. We've had several that have gone on to graduate schools to get their master's or doctorates. And just give you a few examples. Amy Steller went on to a program for physical therapy at Western Carolina University, where only 50 people get accepted. And she was one of them, and now has her doctorate and is working and doing a great job. Heaven Walters, another one, went on to get her master's in occupational therapy and is very successful now. And then, of course, Miracle Walters, most recent, is over at NC State getting her engineering degree and had a great academic career here as well. So number one, academics is the thing that makes me most proud of these young women. They are true scholars, and they're, awesome to coach. And then obviously basketball wise, we've been pretty successful. 6 of the last 10 years, we've been to the championship game in the ODAC. And we've won 3 championships and made it to 4 NCAA tournaments. So, we've had a few ups and downs there. We should have won a 4th championship, but Gabby Oglesby got hurt there in the championship game, and we ended up losing, but to Randolph Macon, who played a great game. But, we've had a lot of success. I'm really proud of what our student athletes have been able to accomplish. It took me a while to get this program back to the top, and we've kind of consistently kept it there for the past 8 or 9 years.
That's wonderful. Can you talk about the 2012 and 13 season of being champs?
Yeah, I believe that was the second one in a row. And Brittany Atwater was a senior at the time, and she was our only senior. And of course, in those years, it always came down to Eastern Mennonite, and somehow, maybe not in the championship, but it seemed like the best game of the tournament was always our game against Eastern Mennonite. And it might have been for the championship that year, but I think the year before it was a semifinal that went down to the wire. But that year, it came down to the last 20 seconds or so. I can't remember exactly. Maybe it was 15, but we put the ball in Brittany's hands, and I told her to take it, and she did. And, one thing about Brittany was, since she was a freshman, I had her taking the last shot, and she might not have made it all the time. But I knew she was tough enough to take that shot. Even if she missed, she would be able to still be okay and come back and get better from it. Some kids, when they take the last shot, they might not ever recover if they miss. Well, I knew Brittany was strong enough mentally that if she missed, which she did at times early on in her career, she was okay. She would come back and try to, do better. And it was the perfect ending to her career because, again, last shot, Brittany Atwater, she goes in there full speed, puts it in like piece of cake, and we ended up winning. So that was an exciting moment.
Can you talk about your time at Chihuahua?
Sure. When I took over that program, they had never won, ever. And so I took over a team with maybe 9 people on it. We had a few bumps in the beginning where I had to get the discipline down a little bit with them. And, I just went in and told them we're going to win. And this is what we're going to do. And you need to get on board. And they did. And we ended up going 10-2 against, at the time, it was the Dixie Conference. 10-2 against the Dixie Conference opponents, which we weren't full members yet. So we couldn't go to postseason. So we won, we had a winning season. We won double figure games. I can't remember our record, but we had a great year. I had some great seniors that year. I was so happy for them. They had never experienced that before. They just went through the Dixie and they were beating people, and so proud of what they accomplished. So that was the first year. And then the second year, we kept building. Even though we lost 2 really strong seniors, and we had another great season, winning season. And then my third year, we were ranked in the region at that point, and again, having a great season. So we, were able to turn that program around very quickly, and that's kind of hard to do, but I was lucky that I had pieces in place, and then I was able to add to that, and had 3, probably was 3 of the best years in that near future there, in that last 10 or 20 years of that program. So pretty proud of those kids, those young women, and they'll always, that's just some of the best times early on in my coaching career.
Can you talk about your time at the University of Maine at Farmington?
Yeah, sure. So that was my first head coaching job, and I was, like I said earlier, it was really a great opportunity. I was able to be an administrator. In all of my head coaching jobs, I was able to be an administrator as well, which was really something I really wanted. So I took over a team that, when I took the job, it was a rebuilding year, and they told me that you have the toughest schedule in school history, and you have to rebuild with the toughest schedule in school history, and you have all freshmen. You have all freshmen and sophomores and 2 juniors, and that's it. That's what you have. So good luck, and I was a little nervous, but we ended up 10-2 in the conference. We tied for first. We went to the championship game and lost by 3. We had, in the final seconds, we had a chance to hit a 3 and tie it, and we didn't quite get there. But it was all young kids, 2 juniors, and it was like, honestly, it's hard because, my first head coaching job, and I was a little more tough than I am now. I had them running for every little thing. It was like, anything and everything we were running. And I would say that they probably hated me at first. And then by the end of the season, we were all so close. And so they got it. They figured out what this was about, what we were trying to accomplish, and they accomplished it. And it was awesome. It was, again, I've been really lucky in my career to have some great players and people. And so when we got to that championship, it was a great game. And I was just so proud. I was so happy. It was just watching how successful they were. And we started off so rough in the beginning, and we beat Colby College, which they had never beaten, what we call the Ivy League schools, which is Colby, Bates, and Bowdoin. but we beat them. We were down double figures, and I remember calling a timeout, and I was like, I had to tell them a few things that we did in practice that I had to remind them about, and they came out like gangbusters and just took over, and it was like the biggest win ever in the history of the program. So it was exciting. It was exciting.
As you talked about being an administrator for all programs that you were at, can you talk about being on that side of the spectrum and what it's like?
Certainly, it's definitely gone from some maybe not as busy work. And I don't mean busy work like paperwork, stuff like that. I mean, when I first started as an administrator, I guess I was just doing like scheduling for officials and buses, like nothing too, I wasn't really involved. It was sort of just, it was a title, but I did have some responsibilities. But I now know, which I'm happy about, I have gotten the experience of really being an administrator. And it really slowly happened, very slowly. I think I was an administrator for like 17, 18 years before I actually understood and was able to be in meetings and had a seat at the table, and realize what really goes into this job. Whether it's the SWA/assistant AD or even what goes into an AD job. I never got that experience until Jane Fernandez was our president here at Guilford. And I really didn't take for granted any experience that she gave me, because it really, really helped me understand how to be an administrator and what goes into it. And so I will forever be grateful for that.
For my listeners that don't know like the day-to-day, what is some of the stuff that you go through as an assistant athletic director?
It varies, but there's a lot of meetings now, a lot of different meetings that are good meetings. Great. You're on a lot of committees. You typically are involved in budgeting and budgets. Let's see. It's a whole, right now it's a lot, because with COVID, I've taken on even more of duties. So like facilities, I was in charge of facilities at one point. So, when you're in charge of facilities, there's a lot going on all the time. So you have to really be everywhere all the time, because there's something wrong somewhere, or something broke, or somebody can't get into something, so you're doing that. You're also overseeing sports and coaches and trying to help mentor them. That's a big piece. Going over I'm trying, there's so much. I'm trying to just keep it as simple as possible. But, a lot of times it's meetings now that take up a lot of the time.
That's good. What advice would you give people that are looking to get recruited on the women's basketball side?
So that was a good question that you're asking. And it's really important that the upcoming players, student athletes, it's really important to do well academically, and to focus on being a successful student, because obviously that when I have players on this team, I can't, there's not a lot of time to help kids who struggle academically, although you do, and you should. So you really had to put the time in academically, because you really don't want to come to a school, play basketball, and not be able to accomplish things academically, because then it really affects your career basketball wise. But that's the first thing. And then the second thing is that you really have to be coachable and be willing to change some things that you're doing, and be patient, because not everybody can come to the D3 level and play right away. And everybody at the D3 level wants to go and play right away. And in good, really strong programs, that doesn't happen much. You have to really pay your dues. You have to work hard. You have to have a good attitude. And this is what I'll say to every single kid or young woman. There's 3 things you can control every day. Obviously your attitude. We all know that. We hear that all the time. Your knowledge. no one can ever take away what knowledge you've gained or that you will gain as you go through, as you are being taught by your coach. So gain as much knowledge as you can. It helps you. And then the third thing is your work ethic. Obviously, that is a big thing for every coach. If you're going to work hard, it doesn't matter necessarily how talented you are. As we all know that saying, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And that's true. And I mean, I've had the great pleasure of coaching some young athletes that maybe could have worked harder and they could have had better careers. And then I've had the pleasure of working with student athletes that have worked really hard and had great careers because of that. So it's really important, the work ethic. You can't take shortcuts, and you have to really be willing to be coached.
Can you talk about what the recruitment process is like on the women's basketball side?
Well, right now it's a little different because of COVID. It's, going to get, for me, what I really focus on is trying my best to get to know the players, because obviously I want a drama-free year, which is rare, but you can cut the drama down if you recruit good people. And so in order to do that, you have to make the phone calls and you have to talk to them. And I make the phone calls and I talk to them. And it's mainly on Sunday. I don't get a day off. I take Sundays, and that's my day to call them and really get to know these young women and figure out, if I think they're a good fit. I don't have my assistant do all that. I think it's important that I do it because I've done this a long time and I can read people pretty well. Obviously, going to games is a big part of it. So right now, we don't know if we're going to be able to go to games, but we will figure it out as we move forward, how we're going to handle that. And then obviously talking to high school coaches to get an idea of what these young athletes are like, work ethic wise. I try to go to a practice. I try to go to an open gym. Again, we're in COVID, so I don't know how much of that I'll be able to do. Might be a little more difficult. But the final piece is getting them on campus and getting them here to see the team, and the team's evaluation of them as people is important. So those are the big areas I think we try to focus on. Obviously, academics is really important. The stronger the student, the more I really want them. So that's pretty much where we go.
When it comes to the recruitment visit, do players get to try on the jerseys to make sure that they feel at home and stuff like that?
I don't think I've ever had a kid try on a jersey. And I know that's big. So they want to wear that jersey and a picture. No one's asked me actually, and I've never done it because I'm pretty honest with these kids on their visit. I mean, I'm honestly, that would be another thing I would say as far as recruiting is honesty is a big deal. And I'm never going to promise somebody that they're going to play. So I'm not going to put them in a jersey yet because they have to get here and earn that jersey. So I don't necessarily go that route when kids come to campus. I'm just very honest, and they want to get a picture with me, great. If they want to get a picture somewhere on campus, great. But I don't put jerseys on anybody because I think that is something you have to earn. And if you're afraid to come here because I didn't let you wear a jersey, then I don't want you anyway. So you got to get here, you got to earn that jersey. And we've luckily we've had some great players that have absolutely earned that jersey. So
you got to earn that Guilford jersey.
Yep.
What advice would you give upcoming college coaches looking to get into college coaching?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a lot different than it was 25 years ago when I started. But again, everything life has changed. So I wouldn't expect it to be the same. So I think, as I've mentioned before, you got to be honest. You got to be honest you got to be you. You can't try to be someone else. You got to be your own person, your own personality. You have to figure out how you're going to mesh that into how you're going to sell your program, how you're going to coach your players. But you have to be honest, and you have to be caring. And I'm not saying you have to be, I mean, I'm not when you first meet me, maybe 25 years ago, you like my kids in my players in Farmington probably didn't think I was very caring at first because I was making them run all the time, right? But by the end of the season, they knew that I cared about them. But it doesn't mean I have to necessarily baby them or tell them every day I care about them. I think it's always in your actions. When it comes down to it, you know, if there's a problem, are you there for them? If they come to you with anything, you know, you have to be there for them. You have to be, you know, then here's an example. Gabby Oglesby came here, and I remember when I recruited her, she said, Coach, I'm really, really close with my family. I'm like, great. There's nothing wrong with that. And she said, I'm telling you that if anything comes up, I'm leaving to go be with my family. I mean, not leaving school, but if we had practice, she would leave. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. So her freshman year, something happened and she had to go home. And it was something with her mom. And she came to me right before practice. She's like, I'm not going to be there. And, you know, back then I probably was like, I don't like when people miss practice, you know, I mean, I still don't, but I didn't miss a beat. I was like, okay, you go home and you let me know when you're ready to come back and come to practice. You take whatever time you need. And people were probably shocked because I'm like, no, you can't miss practice. But she told me up front, this is the situation. And when kids are honest, I'm honest too. Okay. I mean, I'm always honest, but when someone's honest, I'll tell them I'll work with you on that. That's fine. You know, and we worked it out. She went home and she didn't come to practice for like 3 days, came back, everything was fine. She was good to go, you know, but it was a time she needed. And so, I think caring is really important. And with these young student athletes and their families, it's really something you have to have. And then you have to have a good, strong work ethic. Coaching, you can't be successful if you're not working hard. It's just the way it is. A lot of people like to get in coaching because they think it's an easy job. You know, you just sit around all day. I'll never forget my first 10 years in coaching has been, so what do you do? What do you do all day? Like I'm sitting here eating bonbons all day because I have nothing to do. Like if I could sit there and tell them what I do every day, not 5 days a week, every day of the week, there's something to do. They would be shocked at the list of things that a coach has to do to have a successful program. So you have to have a good work ethic. Don't be afraid to be mentored, because I was mentored by a great coach in Deirdre Kane, and by, again, more than just basketball. She helped me with many things in life. And you got to if you have a strong mentor, I think you're going to be really successful. And I really am grateful for having such a strong mentor throughout my young days.
That's wonderful advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media, along with the women's basketball program at?
Oh boy, I got to remember the things. All right. So on Twitter, you can find me at GC_Coach Flamini. And then Guilford Women's Basketball. I can't even remember, honestly. I'll have to look. It's either GC Women's Basketball, also on Twitter. Just look up Guilford Women's Basketball. I don't remember the actual. Thank
you again, Stephanie, for your interview, and best of luck in your upcoming year and moving into the future.
No, and I appreciate the time you took to have me, the time you have taken to have me here, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Stephanie, for your interview, and best of luck.
Thanks.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.